Hey, welcome to Behind the Scenes with Axiom Medical. I'm your host, Jason McElhinney. This is a monthly show where we go behind the scenes here at Axiom Medical and talk to the people that make this company tick. I've talked to a bunch of people throughout the almost 2 years that we've been doing this, from executives to all over the place. Today, I'm very happy to bring you our corporate trainer, Mr. Chris Cruz. Chris, how are you?
Hey, how's it
I'm,
going?
I'm great. I'm great. So, tell us. So, Chris, you've been with the company a few years. I remember when you joined us, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Axiom.
Yeah, so I'm the corporate trainer here at Axiom. I've been with the company for 5 years, a little over 5 years. And my roles and responsibilities, man. So I wear several hats. I could be the learning management systems administrator. I could be programs manager, managing the programs. And I can get into the whole creating, training, and developing, and even being an instructor. So that whole scope of things. Some things that I do right now that I really enjoy with the company is the onboarding. So I get the privilege of being one of the first faces that new hires see when they come to Axiom. So that's usually a good thing. And then I kind of take them through their learning and development journey. IT required training and all the other stuff that pertains to the different departments and so forth. So yeah, a lot of hats and a lot of responsibilities.
And you always bring an enthusiasm to what you do, which I think everyone wants to be able to do that in their profession. But I was always amazed when we worked together in the office and we would see each other every day. The enthusiasm and the dedication you had to what you do and helping to share that with everyone.
Yeah, it takes a certain kind of person to be in the learning and development or training or education role, right? And I always tell people, um, in order for someone to be in this industry, you gotta want to meet people. You got to be a people person, right? I mean, think about it. Think about your time from kindergarten through grade school, through middle school, through high school. Remember those teachers? You're like, I don't know if that teacher should be teaching, right? I just feel that if you want to get to know people, if you like meeting people, this field is easy to be in, man, because it's just really just learning about how people learn, learning the backgrounds and cultures of different people, and that just makes my job a whole lot easier. So that's what drives me in being in the role I am today.
You definitely are a people person, and having worked in various types of industries in the past prior to having a life in marketing, I worked in a factory for a number of years, and we always had training there, but it was more like, let's shuffle these guys into a room, plus press play on a DVD, and leave them alone. And you're supposed to basically take what you want from whatever you're watching. Most guys didn't watch. But you and your team bring a level of enthusiasm that kind of helps people kind of get involved and be engaged and to learn.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Not everyone learns the same. Not everyone can sit down and just watch a video and then that transfer of knowledge happens and then it sticks, right? So one of the things that we've done here at Axiom, especially with the team that we have, is we always look at different ways of learning. Whether it be e-learning or like even throwing scenarios out or puzzles or flow diagrams, anything like that. The main point that we want to make sure is that, one, there's that transfer of knowledge, but how do we make it stick, right? So one of the things we do is it's that use it or lose it mentality, right? So we always want to make people give them opportunities to use what they learn, not just in the training itself, but even when they transfer to their departments. Just getting that knowledge and then just reinforcing it with either scenarios. Of course, you get your typical traditional quizzes and knowledge checks, but we here, we want to go that extra step and just making sure that whether it's knowledge or skills, it's basically it sticks with them.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you and your team have really brought a lot of value to the company. So let's go back. Let's go about all the way to the start. Where are you from?
Okay, so I'm originally from the island of Guam. I was born in Hawaii and I was raised in Hawaii, Guam, and Japan. And the reason why is because my dad was a Marine, and those were our duty stations. And so I always tell people I grew up in the islands, just to give a sense of, being joking and all that kind of stuff. I tell people I grew up wearing, surf shorts, t-shirts, and a flip flop, right? And so that's how I went to school most of the times. And it wasn't until I came to the States where it was like, I need a sweater, I need a jacket, I need a fall jacket, I need a winter jacket. What is this? And so that was a culture shock. So again, I grew up in the islands, and that's where home is. But I didn't come to the States until I myself joined the Marine Corps.
And from there, you mentioned to me prior to this, you were in San Diego for a while. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was towards the end of my career, 8.5, 9 years. I was stationed in San Diego. I was a MOS instructor for the Marine Corps for right there on Coronado, or North Island, San Diego. And I was stationed there for about 5 years. But if you know anything about the Marine Corps, we don't stay put. We either deploy on a ship or we go overseas unaccompanied for like a year or so. So my family was in San Diego for 5 years, but I was constantly deployed somewhere.
I've always kind of envied that lifestyle of moving around. I will admit that being in the military, I growing up, I had a problem with authority. So I don't know if I would have been able to toe the line with that, but the travel seemed interesting to me.
Oh yeah, you and I both, man. And that's where I got the travel bug. I mean, going around the world with the military, you learn, you're exposed to so much different cultures, different foods, different languages, right? Just different ways of doing things. And so I think that originally is where it got that bug started in the training. I was like, man, I got to learn more. I want to learn more. I want to know how people learn and adapt to certain situations. So I think you and I both, I mean, I love the whole travel aspect, and the military gave me that opportunity. And then leaving the military and then coming to Houston, oil and gas gave me, kept that opportunity going. So yeah, I totally agree. I love traveling.
You mentioned Guam, Hawaii, and Japan. Me and some friends went to Japan about almost 5 years ago now, and I fell in love with the country. I thought it was amazing, and there's so much about it that I think that I really loved. And one of the biggest things that I loved was they call it the so-called social contract that they have there, where treat everything with respect. I watched highlights of Shohei Ohtani was playing in Japan, and he hit a home run. It was either Japan or the World Baseball Classic. I think it was Japan. He hit a home run, and the woman who caught the ball passed it around the crowd so everyone could take a photo with it, and then passed it back to her. And I don't think anything like that would happen anywhere at the MLB park.
Oh no, man! Yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to any sporting event in Japan, it's totally different than here. I mean, they've got the whole crowd is cheering. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's of course you're going to root for your home team, but they even cheer for the opponents. I mean, it's just one big party. And then, like you said, it's just everybody's having a good time, and they do respect each other. And it's just the whole culture itself, it's kind of like the structure of it is just basically, respect, be considerate of one another, and just live happily and peacefully,
It's a good way to live. We did go to a Tokyo Giants game, and it was, if anyone has never been to a baseball game in Japan, it's a combination of baseball, soccer, a little bit of like circus. It's amazing. There's just so much joy, and everyone's singing songs, and there's a section for the visitors, and there's no yelling or throwing drinks or something like that. And they have all these people that run around with little kegs on their back, and it's an amazing thing.
And the coolest thing, you guys have probably seen it in the news. The coolest thing, I think, is after the game, everybody picks up their trash and throws it away.
Yep. Leave no footsteps. So let's talk, let's do a little reminiscing, if we will. Back before, when we were in the office, your department and my department kind of joined forces, and we were going to basically buy some camera equipment, and we knocked down some walls in some offices and combined them and painted them chroma green, and we were going to do a bunch of corporate training and marketing videos. And then something called COVID-19 hit. I'm not sure if you remember that. It was about 3 years ago now. Walk us through that, because I know for us it was obviously the pandemic was a very big thing and was very serious. But for us, we're like, oh, we were just about to get that off the ground.
Yeah, right before COVID happened, we were looking already at blended learning, right? We wanted to do a lot of role playing. We wanted to record it and put that in the training. We wanted to record the nurses taking phone calls and at the time it was central services taking phone calls and we wanted to do that to really hit home on the blended learning. And then of course COVID happened, which we weren't really suffering at that time because we were already looking at blended learning. Now we just had to kind of focus or refocus on virtual learning. Right. And then the interactions that we have with that, and how can we make our e-learnings that much better, and have a little interaction. So we did go from that hands-on studio, the green room. I think we called it the green room. And it was kind of like, okay, everything shut down, but we still need to kind of move forward. So taking that concept and preparing us, I think it did help us prepare for COVID and everything else we had to do within the last 3 years.
Yeah. And, our department, we were very small at the time. And I know that you guys weren't a giant thing. And I think every department was like, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? And then we added new features to the company. And next thing you know, we're all over Hollywood and that area doing just tons of different work that we've done. And I know that you guys went from a small sort of skeleton crew to like, you were doing a lot of different trainings that you had to do basically on the fly for this new business we were doing in California. And for people that weren't aware, we were doing on-site COVID testing for Hollywood movies and TV shows and a lot of other different things. So kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So for COVID, we had come up with the new, I think at the time, Kriya was our service. And so we needed to get people sped up on that process and how we provide that service to our clients. Right. And so we started off small. We were like, okay, this is new. Let's go ahead and build this process and get the training there. And then all of a sudden that service kind of blew up. And so it was kind of like all hands on deck, right? Like, oh, you work in sales, you're going to learn how to do Kriya process, right? You work in training, you work in marketing, HR, everybody's going to learn how to do the Kriya process, because it was such a successful and, much needed service. And so we created that, and using the e-learning mentality, and then of course some minor scenarios. And then because we, like you mentioned earlier, we went into the whole Universal Studio, the Hollywood, this thing. A lot of people from different departments were kind of, volunteering to help out with being Axiom, health and safety supervisors. And I myself was one of them. I would venture to say I don't know if I was tricked. I have no proof, but I was asked to be on a show called Shark Tank. And my boss at the time, she was like, hey, guess what? Shark Tank is going to film, and it's going to your favorite place in the whole world, Las Vegas, Nevada, right? And I was like, oh, yes, I'm there. I will volunteer, right? And so I volunteered. I was ready to go, excited, motivated. I show up, and we're in a bubble in Las Vegas. It's like I can hear the slot machines going. I can smell the Starbucks coffee, but I just can't get to it. Now I think it was like 2-3 months, man. I was miserable, because it was really just to the room, to the set, to the room, to the set, and everything else in between. And I was like, I think I got hoodwinked. On this one. So it was a good experience, but that just proved the flexibility of people here at Axiom. Everybody just kind of jumped in. It didn't matter what your role was. It was one, it was needed because the world needed it, and two, and our clients needed it, and two, we're a team, here at Axiom. So if it needs to get done, everybody just jumps in and volunteers, and that's the way it was, man.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of all hands on deck for sure. And Dara came in to chime in and said, I cannot confirm nor deny the trickery.
I hear you, Dara. I hear you. That was funny.
Summer 2020 was an interesting time for a lot of people all around the world, but for us, it was we were lucky enough to stay on where we are and expand. But with that expansion was a lot of, I've never done this before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's go to some comments. Holly says, "Hi, Jason and Chris."
Hey, Holly.
Hey, Holly.
Aloha.
Aloha. Lacey, I've actually interviewed both Holly, Lacey, and Dara. Lacey says, "Hello, gentlemen. Chris, so happy to work with you. Your expertise and training is so vital to start Axiom family members on the right track." True story.
Nice. Thank you.
Holly says, "Extremely grateful for what you do, Chris."
I like working with Holly. Holly was one of the first in the whole Korea going out west. So Holly, you paved the way for me out there.
Yeah, that was we've heard some of the war stories from Holly going out there, and it was new ground. It was new business for us, but also you've got the paranoia of, am I going to get sick? Mm-hmm. How many hours a day can I physically work? That kind of stuff. So Holly, we're extremely grateful for you, Holly, for all the work that you put in at the start for us there.
Most definitely.
And Lacey says, "Semper Fi."
Hey, Semper Fi. All right.
So let's talk about what you do outside of work. You talked about what you do in work, where you're from, but let's talk about what you do outside of work.
Oh man. So my babies have grown up. My son who's 22 this year. My daughter's 20. A lot of my world revolves around either them or my wife and I. And so outside of work, I like to travel. I think you and I talked about that earlier. I like to travel. So going on cruises is a good way to start. We travel. We want to go to Europe. We want to, of course, we want to go back home to Guam. And my wife's from Taiwan, so we're going to go to Taiwan, I think, this year. Of course, Hawaii is a must. But my son has a chance to go to Germany this summer, and we're looking at following him. He doesn't want us to, but we're looking at following him. And so we like to travel. And it doesn't have to be big travel too. My wife and I like, going to Dallas, or, I think we took like a spur of the moment trip to Biloxi, Mississippi, because shout out to Becca Young. She said, you got to go out there. If you like Vegas, you'll like Biloxi. So we went out there. My wife, my kids are all grown. So a lot of what we do is used to be around going outside, hiking, going to the beach, fishing, surfing, things like that. But we recently picked up snowboarding. So myself, my son, and my daughter, we snowboard, but my wife likes skiing better. So we do that. We wanted to go this past winter because as everybody knows, I mean, it was just pouring snow down, and the powder was it was awesome. But unfortunately, we didn't get a chance. So we'll probably look at doing something like that. On top of the traveling and going out and doing that, I'm an amateur foodie, Jason. I'm an amateur foodie. I tell people I'll try anything once. If I like it, I'll try it again. If not, that's in my mental Rolodex, and that's staying there, and it's going to be put in, in the vault. But I like to eat interesting. I just like to go out and try different things. And usually when I travel, I tell people, man, I don't want to go to Burger King, McDonald's, or Cheesecake Factory. Take me to where you eat, right? Take me to where the locals eat. And so different things I've tried, fruit bat, snake. I've tried scorpions. Out of all the food, though, and my wife's probably going to get mad at me for saying this, one of the things that I can't bear to eat is a Chinese dish called stinky tofu. All right. I can't. Okay. Yeah, I can't get it past my eyes and my nose to get it in the taste sense. So every time we try, man, my wife's like, here, try it. I'm like, no, I'm good. No, that gag reflex starts kicking in, and it's over, man. So that's the one thing. So, but yeah, I like doing all those kind of things. But I think at the end of the day, I just like learning about cultures and people, and how people just live their day-to-day lives. I'm interested in knowing people. I like hearing people's stories.
Japan, when I went to Japan, there's so many chances to eat something that you don't necessarily would get at a regular restaurant here in North America. But I saw a TikTok video the other day where a guy was filming himself at Ichiran, which is a ramen, a chain of ramen stores in Japan. And we went to Ichiran in Kyoto. And when you go in, you sit down and there's a piece of paper and you say what you want. You know, what kind of noodles, what kind of broth, what kind of meat, so on and so forth. And then there's a sort of a gauge that says, you know, do you want 1 to 3 hot? And then it just there's no 3 to 10. It's just 1 to 3 and then 10. And so I tried a 3 when I first got there. And then the next time I tried a 5. And then the next time I tried a 10. And that's still to this day the hottest dish I've ever had in my whole life. It was so hot that in the middle of the ramen, I would get up, I'd have like 10 different napkins, and I'd walk around the restaurant. And there's me walking around the restaurant. There's other people that are walking around the restaurant doing the same thing, which is amazing. And you know, they're in New York. They opened up some locations in New York, but I'm hoping they go across the United States, because not to, you know, throw shade at some ramen places here in Houston, but they're just not hot enough.
No, I agree 100%, man. That'd be cool if they did open one up in New York. You didn't have to fly all the way to Japan to try it or get it.
That's true. Yeah, they've got a couple. I think they got one in Brooklyn and Midtown, and they've got 3 open now. But I would much rather just fly back to Japan.
Yeah, I agree.
So apart from traveling, you know, what are some of the hobbies that we can find you doing?
Man, like some of the hobbies. So we were talking about it. So bike riding, right? So now that the weather is nice, right? Motorcycle riding. Sorry, guys. Motorcycle riding. So now that the weather is nice and you see all the blue bonnets and everything out there, we were talking about this earlier. That's my thing now, man. I'm just like, I just want to get on it. That helps me with my getting to my happy place, right? Just getting on a bike and just going. So one of the things that I do that a lot, especially on the weekends. So you'll probably see me doing that. And then of course, I have family here, so going to see them every once in a while. That, you know, just to spend time doing that. Getting into kind of into the more. Getting into museums, really. My wife and I, we took a trip last summer. I took my parents to Washington, D.C. last summer, and went to this, man, that's a bucket list for me, was the Smithsonian. And so I loved it, man. But the bad thing is that, you know, the aviation museum was kind of closed for renovation. But that's what I'm doing now. So you'll find me just like, we're looking at museums, like my wife and I are like, let's go to this museum. Let's go check this out. So I'm getting into that. History museums, and then of course natural science. So
there's a lot of great museums throughout the world, that's for sure. I used to volunteer at the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto. On Friday nights, it was their free night, so we would get people that couldn't afford to go to the museum. Be great. Sometimes my wife works on a Saturday, and so we have a membership at the MFA here in Houston, and I'll grab my Kindle and I'll just go sit on a bench and just read my book for a while, and then when my butt gets tired, I'll go walk around and look at some art and find another bench or read a book for a while. It's I love museums. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I love doing that. I love my wife and I we had an opportunity to go to France, but at the time the Louvre was closed. I was so mad. So that's another one on the bucket list that I got to go back and check out.
Well, we've got some more comments here. Lacey wants to know what kind of bike you have so you can ride together sometime.
2020 Harley Softail Slim.
There you go. And we have a thing called Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here at Axiom Medical, where we kind of get together and we have a video call and we just riff on stuff. We'll talk about mental health. A lot of times, almost every time it ends up with talking about food. But there was a conversation about bikes, and Lacey rides a bike as well. She's got a Heritage Softail, but she shared a photo of her bike in Whitehall. And for people that aren't familiar, bluebonnets, it's this time of year for bluebonnets to bloom, and Whitehall generally has fields and fields and fields of bluebonnets, which look amazing. And it's the Instagram spot of this area, that's for sure.
It's so beautiful. But yeah, Lacey, I hear you.
Dara says amazing museums in DC.
Yes, I loved it.
That's on the bucket list as well. I've never been to DC, but I'd love to. Smithsonian's on my list.
Yeah, just the history alone in that area is awesome.
Oh, Charlie chimes in. So you need to ride your bike over to Marfa or come by Dallas and Fort Worth for a quick weekend trip and check out our museums if you haven't.
Yep, it's riding weather now, so yeah, don't be surprised you see me up there.
Fort Worth, their Contemporary Arts Museum. But my wife is from Dallas, and so if we go to Fort Worth, we'll go there every time because it's absolutely beautiful. Some of the artwork that they have in there.
I heard about that.
So, any words of wisdom? We're coming up to the end of this. Any words of wisdom? Any parting thoughts you want to leave people with?
Yeah, sure. I always tell people, like, whenever I get to know people better. And I've realized this in my age. I'm not gonna say how old I am, but I'm up there. I always tell people, like, to in today's world, the world's getting smaller, and I say that because of technology, right? And so there's a lot happening out there. But I always tell people, if you're struggling, I always tell people, find that one thing that makes you smile, right? Find that one thing that makes you happy and just go do it. Maybe this week it's looking at bluebonnets, take pictures, go out there and take pictures of bluebonnets, right? And then next week, find something else. So I tell people that for a reason, is just, here, especially at Axiom, but anywhere in the world, if you like helping people, if you like taking care of people, your friends, your family, your loved ones, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you really have to take care of yourself. And so with technology the way it is, and the platforms that are out there, and everything that's happening, just find one thing that makes you smile, and go do it. And then next week, find something else. Just, if you change one thing in your life, one positive thing, and you keep doing that, that's going to transcend into what you really like, and that is helping people and taking care of people. And you ever hear that phrase that laughter is infectious? If you're happy and you're well balanced, people will see that, and that is infectious as well. So I always tell people, make sure you take care of yourselves before you take care of others.
That's really great words of wisdom for everyone. And I want to leave with one parting comment from Les concerning our calls which we had earlier today, our Wellness Wednesday. Says, and you're great fun on Wellness Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So there you go. So thank you everyone for watching. It's been a blast, and thank you, Chris, for joining. And we will see you next time.